What's up, guys? Mike here from Ekim Knives, and this is attempt number 8, 9 or something with this DSLR camera. I took all your guys' advice, and I went through the comment section, and there was a lot of helpful tips that got me much further than I was. I tried maxing out the aperture, and that gave me a kind of a grainy picture. So I toned it down, increased the lighting. Hopefully this one looks better. Like I said, I'm just going to keep beating on this drum until I get it. I may never use the camera again for this. I'll stick to the nature photography with my wife. But at least I can say I accomplished the goal of shooting a video with this camera. Okay, this is Q&A number 7, guys. And we're going to jump right into it. I don't want to keep you guys too long. So first up, we have Steve Miller Knives. Steve asks, Mike, I thought of a question for your next Q&A. What do you find to be a good edge thickness for a stainless steel hunter before sending out for heat treatment? I usually go for 20 thou thick on carbon steel. If it helps to answer the question, I will be using AEBL. Rock on, bro. We appreciate you. Well, thanks, Steve. We appreciate you, too. So, 20 thou thick on carbon steel, and you're making the transition into stainless. I'll tell you, the thinnest I've gone on stainless steel is 15 thousandths of an inch. Without warping, without any issues. Now, that also happens to be the limit for when you're sending your knives out to heat treat for somebody like Peter's Heat Treat. I wouldn't send it in any thinner than 15 thousandths. Now, 15 thousandths, guys, that's basically a finished edge on a hunter, even a folder, depending on what you're using it for. Some guys can take it a little thinner, especially in AEBL. You can go down as thin as 10 thousandths and it'll hold that edge. Now, if you're going to just keep going with your hunters at 20 thou, you'll be fine. You shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. I will say one thing about AEBL is I had it sent out to Peter's and there was some warping issues which were corrected after heat treat. I've heard of some people have some problems with warping. But I also have a friend, another knife maker that lives down the road from me, who has 0 problems with warping in AEBL. So, just so you know. But, Steve, you just released your video on how to straighten knives, so you should be good to go anyway. Okay, next up, we got Larry Hamner. Larry asks, I've made several knives right now and really enjoy knife making. My question is about making handles. I have used wood scales and I'm currently using G10. Would like to know if after sanding and filing, is there any finish or anything needed to complete the knife? Okay, now you guys know I don't work with a lot of wood. I have worked with some. I have worked with a bunch of G10. And as far as G10 goes, after you're done, well, while you're sanding it actually, it's going to get that white chalky look. And it doesn't look very nice when you're finished. You can try blowing it off and cleaning it off and it doesn't go away. It stays white and chalky. So, most guys, myself included, just take a WD-40, just get it in the pores and rub it in, and it'll hold that oil and give it that nice dark shine that we're looking for. Now, in terms of wood, a high grit finish and sanding. Now, there are a million types of wood, but in general, a high grit finish in sanding, couple that with some oils, maybe some buffing, depending on the species of wood. Will get you pretty far as well. But here's a tip. Since I'm not a pro woodworker and there's so many species out there, what I do to find the answers myself is I'll look up guitar makers, I'll look up cabinet makers, and any kind of custom furniture or jewelry boxes, whatever. There are tons of woodworkers out there that have used this stuff for years and years and know exactly how to get that shine. So those are the forums and the research I kind of dig into to find the answer for each specific species of wood, because they're not all the same. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Okay, next up we got Storm 987 2001. Mike, you said before you mainly use green buffing compound. Where do you get it from? I've noticed the same color can vary wildly from different manufacturers. Would like to know which brand you use. You know, that's an excellent question, Storm, and he's 100% right. And here's a big tip to go along with it. First, I'll answer his question. I get mine from USA Knife Maker. I get the big green brick, and they last a long time, so don't be afraid to buy the big brick. It'll last you quite a while. But what he says when he says every manufacturer is different, he's absolutely right. Green from USA Knife Maker might not necessarily be the same as green from buffingcompounds.com or whoever. So when you get into buffing, stick to one manufacturer, whether it's USA Knife Maker or this guy or that guy, whoever it is, stick to that one, especially if you're going to use more than one compound. So a black would be a coarse, and then a brown, and then maybe a green and a red, no scratch. Just know what you're getting, stick to that brand. If you don't like the brand, buy a whole nother lineup from another brand. You don't want to mix and match. It'll just cause nothing but headaches. So that's an excellent question, and that'll help a lot of guys out. Thank you for that, Storm. Okay, next up we got Bill K. I keep asking too late, I guess. I'm sorry about that, Bill. How big is your new shop? I'm getting ready to move from the garage to the shop and need some idea of how big it should be. I don't have near as much large equipment as you, like a mill or a surface grinder. Thanks, glad to see you back to making more videos. Alright, Bill. This shop that we're sitting in right now looks tremendous from the angle of the camera. There's a wide angle lens, and even on the little camcorder is a wide angle lens as well. So it looks huge. Fact of the matter is, I'm sitting in the corner and there's about 6 inches behind the camera until I hit the wall. The shop is 12 foot by 12 foot and about 10 or 11 foot high. Now, the reason I made it that size is because of my local laws. You're not allowed to make it any bigger, otherwise it counts as a structure, and then you have to have everybody coming in. So basically, I maxed out the size for what they would consider a shed, so I don't have to go worry about permits and this and that and the other thing, and inspectors and more taxes. Now, if you have the ability, and for you guys that are looking to build your shop, here's my tip. Go as big as you can afford. Believe me and trust me on this one, guys. I've already outgrown this one, of course. There's not a whole lot of room, and you can always, even if you don't have a lot of equipment, it's just really nice to get the clean stuff as far away from the dirty stuff as possible, so you don't have to go and cover machines and you have to worry about this or that. In a small space like this, everything gets everywhere, and just even if you had empty tables, that workspace is really nice because you could set up stations for each process of your build. So go as big as you can afford, 100%. If you don't have a big space, you can still make it happen. I made it happen out of a tiny tin shed if you go and look at my old videos. That was, I think, 8 foot by 6, no, I'm sorry, 7 by 10 or something like that, which is tiny. And you had to duck to get in the door. So, that should do it for that one. Yeah, go as big as possible. Okay. Isles Lidmus? Oh, he put his real name here. Andrew. Okay, Andrew, I'll just call you that. Question for your next Q&A. I've seen people take their manual mill like the Grizzly and add servo motors and make it automated CNC to do folding knives. Any thoughts to do that for consistency and repeatability in your process? If not, what would you do as a next step beyond the Grizzly mill? That's a great question as well. And you know what, Andrew? 6 or 7 years ago, converting it yourself was likely the only option, and you had to source all these parts, and it was rather expensive. It really was. It still is expensive. And you would have to make brackets and fabricate, and it would be a 3 or 4 month project to get it done and working the way you want to. Fast forward to today, is it still a good idea? Sure, you could still do it. They still have kits and everything, especially for the 0704 Grizzly. But now you have new machines like the Tormach 440, which is ready to roll, about the same size, and you can get into one for about $4,000. If you consider the cost of the mill, the conversion, and your time, you're almost at break-even point. So you might as well, at least in my case, I wouldn't bother converting the Grizzly. I would just sell the Grizzly and buy a Tormach 440 or a similar machine. For you guys across the pond, especially Australian guys, you guys get beat up. as in terms of what you pay for machinery and equipment. It's crazy. For you guys that don't know, that 440 that cost $4,000 here probably cost about $12,000 in Australia for the same exact machine. Jeez, sorry guys. So if you're over there across the pond, then you might have to convert, or they might have local machines for you. I'm not sure of that, but over here I would just go Tormach. It just seems easier. Okay, next up, David Allen. What method do you use to put your logo on your blades? Would like to hear an answer in the next Q&A. I use a Personalizer Plus, and that's electrochemical etching. Now, there is a bit of a process to it, and there's a ton of videos all over YouTube on how to do it. But I'm going to do a tutorial. I can't really explain it to you. I'd have to do a tutorial, and I plan on doing one. But I'm in the middle of the How to Make a Frame Lock series, and I'm doing it step by step. And I want to continue the series from CAD design all the way to packing and shipping. And towards the end of that, of course, would be etching a logo. So I'm going to get to it, but it's going to be a couple of months out probably at the crappy rate I'm doing these videos. But I will get to it. But if you want Personalizer Plus, that's the one I use, an electrochemical etching. So look that up. Okay, Roberto Lopez. Last one for today. Hey Mike, nice video as always. Oh, thank you. I need an opinion. I have the opportunity to upgrade to a milling machine or a surface grinder. In your opinion, what should I do? Okay, milling machine versus surface grinder. Which one to buy first? That depends on what you're doing with it. If you're jumping into folders and that's why you're upgrading your machinery, then by all means I would go for the milling machine first. You kind of need one to make folders. There are people that don't use them to make folders, but it's exponentially more difficult. So getting into folders, 100% go for the milling machine. You're going to need it. In conjunction with that, make sure you get a granite surface plate or something like that, because flatness is absolutely perfect. It has to be absolutely perfect for folders, or you're going to run into issues as well. So you'll have to flatten manually, but mill on the machine. Now, if you're into fixed blades still, I would get the surface grinder, because a milling machine will do a little bit of the process for you, will help you out a little bit, like milling the slot on a guard if you're into that kind of knife, or maybe milling a fuller or something like that, or a cool little pattern in your handles. There are some things that you can accomplish with a milling machine and fixed blades, but in all honesty, it's not necessary. You can get really far without a milling machine and fixed blades. A surface grinder, however, if you're gonna get one either way, a surface grinder will help you get those knife tangs really flat. I've seen guys do taper tangs off of them, which, you know, they set up some kind of jig or a wedge or something. I've never tried it, but there are methods to take advantage of on a surface grinder when you're still making fixed blades. I've had too many blades round off on me by holding it up against a grinder, and you can get your the flats of your grind will be nice. They'll be easier to finish, I should say. The flats of your grind will be easier to finish. So for fixed blades, I'd go surface grinder. For folders, I would go milling machine, 100%. So hopefully that helps. Guys, this is, like I said, attempt number like 27 with this stupid camera. Let me know how it looks. I just want to accomplish the goal of saying I shot a video with a DSLR that I shouldn't have, or that I'm learning something, because I'm a big proponent of always be learning something, whether it's knife making, cameras, or any kind of part of the process that goes into this, because you have to be everything in knife making. So I try to learn something new every day, and hopefully I nailed this camera. Let me know how it looks, guys, and that's it for this one. Leave your questions for the next one down below. This is the first place that I check for questions, and that's it. This is Mike here from Ekim Knives, and I'll catch you on the next video.